Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Trials Fusion. This is, for me, personally at least, definitely one of the most hotly anticipated games of the spring, first half of 2014 at least. I played a ton of Trials HD back when it came out on Xbox Live Arcade around 2009, I want to say. They're really 5 years ago, good lord. And then even more, I would say, of Trials Evolution when it came out on Xbox Live Arcade and eventually on PC as well in 2012 and 2013, respectively. And the Trials games, I think if you look back post-mortem style at the Xbox 360 in particular, Trials HD and Trials Evolution stand out as two of the best Xbox Live Arcade games that came out for that platform over the course of its entire lifespan. And really, Trials HD in particular kind of set the tone, I think, for what was a really nice kind of spell of quality for Xbox Live Arcade for about 2 or 3 years. This is Trials Fusion, same development studio, published by Ubisoft, and of course made by Red Links. Comes out on PS4, Xbox One, I think it's already out on those, and it comes out on PC via Steam on the 25th, I think, or the 24th. You can check it on Steam yourself. Everything is just under the specter of Dark Souls 2 when it comes to release dates for me right now. And I played about, maybe 2 hours of the PS4 version so far, and about 20 minutes of the PC edition, which is what I am playing right now. It's the same game, looks the same on both platforms. Both have their fair share of, you know, beautiful moments and zany moments, as well as some weird kind of texture issues where textures just kind of pop in sometimes. But anyway, I'll talk about my impressions as we play what I assume is going to be 20 to 30 minutes of Trials Fusion. So, big fan of the Trials series. How do I feel about Fusion so far and what I've played? The good news is it's just more Trials, which a lot of people are going to like. And myself included. I thought, that was terrible. By the way, if you don't like watching people be a little bit, you know, fake OCD about games like this, this might not be the video that you want to watch, because I am totally going to restart every time I get a fault, at least on these easy levels. But yeah, I thought Trials Evolution was amazing. That was a really inopportune way to take that jump, and this Hawk 6 guy, or Hawk 5X, is going to take over. Oh, it is Hawk 6. I don't know who this is, but that's okay. Well, as long as we beat Ohmwrecker, that's the only thing that matters. I think that Trials Fusion is more Trials, and that's good, and it's got that same kind of sense of absurdity that made Trials Evolution so fun. But I do think that it is maybe the weakest entry in the Trials series so far, and that's not to say that it's a bad game, more that it's just a game that maybe doesn't necessarily live up to the reputation that Trials Evolution had, or the legacy that I felt Trials Evolution kind of set the game up for. So, you know, it's fairly standard if you have no idea what is happening in Trials. You are driving a motorized vehicle. Sometimes it is a motorbike, I guess you would call it, a dirt bike. I'm not sure. Apologize for my voice cracking up a little bit here. Fairly early in the morning. It's only 11 a.m. I'm not sure how much of my redneckness is coming across there. I grew up as a redneck and then rebuked it later, so I don't know if dirt bike is like a seriously back-home country word, but anyway, and you try to balance, you use your gas and the ability to lean in order to make it to the end of a level as quickly as possible and with as few faults as possible. Faults just meaning that basically you fell and hurt yourself. And one of the key things about the Trials games is that they've really struck this good mixture between score attacking, which is, you know, trying to get the highest leaderboard position possible, and just, you know, success being relatively difficult in and of itself. So it's one of those games where, especially the first time you play it, because all the entries in the series are pretty similar, it's just they differ in kind of track design and setting. This setting is obviously a little bit more industrial, a little bit more winter. That'll change a lot over the course of the game, by the way. Yeah, and, you know, the first time you play it, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult to even get to the end of the level, much less compete for high scores. And by the way, when you see me ranking, that was so bad. When you see me ranking like 20th on leaderboard positions, I'm not that good at Trials. It's just that this is the pre-release Uplay version of the game, so there's only maybe a couple of hundred people on the leaderboards to begin with. So don't think that I'm a master or anything like that. And if you watch my Trials Evolution series, you probably don't need that little warning at the start there, but just good to know. But yeah, and then as you get some proficiency, as you figure out some of the more important techniques in the game, as you figure out that you're not just supposed to hold the throttle all the time, which I am totally guilty of, you start to figure out how to land properly on ramps, how to maximize the time and minimize your faults, and then you start competing not only for in-game gold medals, but also, you know, with your friends for leaderboard position. And it still does a very good job of being good on that. Whenever I lose to one of the 2 people on my friends list who currently has the game on Uplay, I definitely want to continue playing. And the track design, you know, totally fine. I don't even want to talk about what I feel are the negatives with this game just yet. You know what? I will talk about one of the negatives of the game that I feel, and you're gonna see it or hear it from time to time, rather. There is kind of like a little bit of a shoehorned story going on here that kind of baffles me why it was implemented. Again, having played a little bit further into the game on the PS4 version, really strikes me as just kind of like a Portal, I don't want to say knockoff, but let's say a heavily inspired Portal type story. This is going to be a bad run. Where basically you have like a female AI or a female voiced AI that's coming up, and she's like talking to you and being reassuring, but also there's this like sinister undertone there, like, hey Ryder, like why don't you try to do this? And then I don't know, she talks a lot, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, except when I'm constantly repeating levels, she says the same thing over and over. So she'll be like, or there will be dialogue, it'll be like, today's weather forecast is snow with a big chance of falling motorcycles. And I'm like, you know, that's kind of amusing the first time you hear it. And then you, you know, make an inopportune jump and you want to get high leaderboard position, so you restart, and it goes, today's weather forecast, snow with a decent chance of falling motorcycles. And to the game's credit, you can turn it off in the menu, but just the fact that there is kind of like a story in there to begin with kind of reminds me of like the EA big era of sports games, particularly extreme sports games, where you'd be playing like SSX3 or something like that, and some asshole obnoxious DJ would come on and be like, hey, is it cold enough for you out there? Ha, just kidding. This is, you know, NERD with their newest song. Anyway, I just don't really get it. Trials for me, I guess, is, that was a terrible performance on my part, but at least I still got the gold medal. Trials for me is a game that has fairly consistently, I don't want to say failed, but fairly consistently been subpar in its sound design and its music design. And let's just say Trials Fusion continues the legacy, but in kind of a weirdly strange way with this kind of shoehorn story that I don't necessarily appreciate. But you can turn it off, so that's cool enough. Another new thing that has made its way into Trials Fusion here is track challenges. So every challenge has the sub options or sub goals for 3 different things. So hold and land a going to hell pose from the off the tower. That's a trick, and we'll talk about tricks as we get a little bit further along, because that's something that's been added that I don't necessarily find myself really being quite thrilled with. First rate flipping, complete at least 10 flips whilst earning a gold medal, and trigger the switches to collapse the tower. So yeah, usually they do have things involved with, I'm just going to restart so I can try to get some flips in here. Usually the objectives are like something to do with a cool level design thing, like there will be a lot of switches. Kind of reminds me of like Joe Danger style, where the objectives will be tied to kind of environmental stuff, and some of them will be like, you know, basically, let's put it this way, do a number of flips is an objective that I've seen a lot. And I haven't really prioritized doing these objectives, because, again, in Trials for me, maybe I'm old school, but just completing the level with a gold and getting 0 faults, if possible, is, it's kind of like the only thing that matters to me. The sub-objectives give you extra, I think, in-game cash that you can use to buy new outfits, motorcycle stuff, or not motorcycles, actually, those are unlocked via the license test, but, yeah, new outfits and stuff like that, new helmets, paint, so you can paint them whatever color you want, which will inevitably be hot pink, but yeah, that's not really my style, but it is kind of cool that they've... Wow, that's actually pretty difficult to get 10 flips. Let's try that again and just go for the gold as is. Yeah, you know, it's difficult enough for the most part just to get those gold medals and get 0 faults, but it is kind of cool that they've added a little bit of a deeper objective system, even though it's not necessarily one that really resonates with me. I'm making a terrible mistake here, and a lot of people, when they look at Trials, they think it looks really simplistic, and they're not wrong. It's kind of one of those games where, even though it's a little cliche to say, easy to learn, hard to master definitely comes into play. I really thought I could make that jump in a better way, but I can't, so I'm going to try to slow down. There's more nuance to it than you might originally think if you haven't played very much of it. And again, I am not the Trials master or anything like that, but what I will say is that if you're just trying to hold down the throttle the entire time, you are going to have a bad time as you play the game. By altering the throttle and praying I don't alter it, that was really bad, and praying I don't alter it any further, you can adjust where you land, and really you want to land on like basically down slopes so that you can stand a good chance to get some more momentum afterwards. If you land on a positive slope, it's going to be a very difficult time for you, and as you can see, just by altering one jump there, I cut like 3 seconds off my time and drastically improved my chances. One of the things that is kind of neat, I think, about Trials Fusion, and you'll see that as we move on a little bit here, and on the very next level, not this one, but the next one, is that every single one of the circuits, which the game is kind of divided into, there is an objective here which I'll try to get. It's like land 12 flips or something by the time you finish this first section. Whoop. Yeah, okay, I got it. Dizzying Heights. And we get that even if we end up not beating the level. So that's good. And whenever it's like flips like that or something that doesn't affect the overall time, then that's okay by me. But everything else is just kind of secondary in my mind. Which is cool. Again, I do think it's good that there's a secondary objective system in there, even if it's not my cup of tea. But yeah, what I was going to talk about earlier is the new thing that's been added. Not that they are new, but it's new that they're kind of included in the actual like vanilla circuits in the game. Is skill games play a larger role in your career now. So there's not just like one skill games category or anything like that. You will be doing them at the end of basically every single circuit or tournament, etc., that you do. This is kind of a cool level too, and I will say that Fusion, I think, basically hits the same. Oh, we gotta be careful on this one. Basically hits the same kind of like level design highs that Evolution in particular did. HD was a little bit boring in terms of its level design, but also it set the stage for what Evolution did later with its cool environments and incredible scale and stuff like that. Fusion, I think, is basically on par with Evolution with respect to that, and that makes it pretty good. Now, we will try one of these skill games here. So this is Big Air. Big Air is very difficult. I actually had to get Kate to gold medal this one for me, but we'll see if I've learned anything. So you remember the skill games? Those would be the ones where you'd be in like your bike on top of a ball, and then you'd be rolling the ball towards the exit on top of it, trying to balance on top of it. There's also like, you know, you've got like explosive devices that you're towing behind you, and you want to avoid taking too many bumps, or you're going to find yourself in a very, oh, that was not the right button apparently, or you're going to find yourself in a very difficult position. This one, I believe this was an Evolution, but I didn't spend too much time getting good at the skill games in Evolution. What this one is Big Air, so what we have to do is basically throw ourselves forward as far as we can by using the triangle button. Well, I guess on this it would be the Y button because I'm using my 360 controller to bail out. And what you obviously want to do here is kind of do it at the same angle that well, it's like ski jumping, right? You don't want to hit the ramp. You want to just fly basically tangential to it to get as much distance as possible. We may end up being unable to gold medal this one. We'll see, though. I really thought that I could keep that one together. Other things that return from Trials Evolution while I'm, you know, trial and erroring this skill game over and over. And by the way, basically the only way you control this is by leaning and timing, which is the way you control everything in Trials Evolution. That one might be a little bit better. That's pretty good. That might be a silver. That's a silver. I beat Ohmwrecker at least, but I want to see if I can get the gold because I think there's a bump down here, and that's where you want to bail yourself out, maybe a little bit after that. But yeah, other things that return. More skill games for sure. The level editor does return, and particularly on PC, I'm really excited to see what people do with that. Not that it was, like, not that the 360 had any shortage of good levels in Evolution. They had some really incredible levels, and the level editor is almost like a Little Big Planet style thing. Oh, that's pretty okay. Gold? Nope. Yeah, it's like a Little Big Planet style level editor where you can really... That is super good. Disregard everything I said earlier because we're gonna make it to the... Oh, thank God. I saw like the gold line on the ground and I was like, am I gonna be able to make that? I got pretty lucky and actually managed to do so. Man, Hawk 6 or Hawk SXX. It's a very difficult expression to say, but yeah, we can take a look here because I just unlocked a new level here. Our new circuit, I should say. You can take a look and you can see, you know, Track Central. That's going to be our downloaded tracks. I'm not going to mine this for good stuff yet because the game isn't quite out on PC yet. But I think I will be doing another custom track series where I take a look at some of the top-rated custom tracks on PC. It'll probably wait until the game comes out, though. It also has multiplayer, but it does not have online multiplayer anymore. It's something that they've talked about adding into the game, but it's not in the game right off the bat. Which, to be honest, it's been a sore spot for a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people saying that that really disappoints them, and I can understand that. I played the Trials Evolution multiplayer all of 2 or 3 times and decided that it was not necessarily for me, but it is the kind of thing that I think would work well on the NLSS, so it's disappointing, and this is not just the PC version. None of the versions have online multiplayer, but they do have local. That's going to be annoying for a lot of people, and I know there were a lot of people who thought like the multiplayer in these games was a major selling point, so honestly, I feel bad for you that it's not in here. We'll check out the store quickly, just to do our due diligence. This is the first time that I've gotten here. Maybe you can actually buy more bikes. I've gone to the bike section of the store. A few other kind of minor complaints I have about Trials Fusion. Loading times are out of control. for real on both PS4 and PC. Can we get to anything here? We'll see. On PS4 and PC, the loading times are kind of crazy. I would expect it maybe on PS4, even though it's a new console, but on PC it doesn't really make much sense to me. I'm still using what is basically a top-of-the-line, if not exactly state-of-the-art machine here, so, you know, you got your variety of different options here. I want to be Dashing Hero, like an Evel Knievel style. You have to do Step into the Light, apparently. That might be the DLC that came with it. What about Biotech? Can I buy some of this stuff? I'm already Biotech. Okay, what about Outsider? Sure, we'll become the Outsider here. I have a lot of money, so I can afford to buy it. We can adjust the colors if we want to as well. Traditionally, really like to roll with the like hot pink style. I think it really accentuates my faux masculinity, which these games try to like. I never know if Trials is like ironically trying to be crazy masculine or if it's actually trying to be crazy masculine. Doesn't really matter in the whole scheme of things because the games are usually pretty good. But there you go. That's me now. Cool. So we'll back out of that. The other complaints that I have are, I think I've already mentioned them. Story. The story doesn't make any sense to me, so be it, right? Let's do a few more levels in Trials here, because I want to show off the trick section, but I think we have to actually beat, yeah, we have to beat Cactus Challenge. So I need 38 medals, which means we need to gold medal, like, one section of this. The training program at this point, it's something that I consider a minor complaint. This is like the 5th time I've gone through the training in Trials, and I'm like, there should be an option to skip it, because in particular, they lock your wheels sometimes to tell you what to do. So, let's see what they're going to have me do here. I should turn on subtitles, to be honest with you. That's a very positive thing. We can turn that on from the menu here. Is that in settings, or it is in settings? Okay. There we go. So next time she talks to me, I should be able to hear. Yes, okay. Or I should be able to read, I guess. So this is like every single Trials training that you've ever done before will be lumped back in here. So get ready to learn how to bunny hop again. Get ready to learn how to, you know, go up slopes, etc., etc. I will say, and I hope this is coming across in the video. Occasionally it doesn't when I end up using XSplit, which for technical reasons I have to do right now. But I think the game looks beautiful. I think it looks better than Trials Evolution, and it's a little bit like crazy. There's a lot of stuff on the screen at any given time, but I think it might be me. Oh, I started all the way back from the beginning. I do that way too often. I think it might just be me kind of misremembering, like, oh, the purity and subtlety, I guess I should say, of Trials Evolution. It wasn't a subtle game. I remember, you know, freaking rockets going off in the background and, you know, you're doing like a level on Juno Beach or something like that during the D-Day invasions anyway. But this is just a futuristic, it's a different kind of aesthetic to it, and it's cool, it works. I don't have any complaints about that. And on the PS4, not that the PC version looks worse, but on the PS4, playing it on a large TV instead of a, like, 19-inch monitor here, it looks really, really nice. It's basically, it was one of 2 games on the PS4 that made me feel like it was a truly next-gen console, which is kind of funny to say for a game that is basically, you know, it's an Xbox Live Arcade game, right? But no, it looks really good. It was that and Infamous, in case anybody's curious about the second one. So, I don't really need an introduction to this, but this is going to teach me that there are, you know, physics-based objects in the environment. The whole game is physics-based, essentially, but, yeah, if we just bump into this... Oh, never mind. Alright, if we just bump into this like that, that'll knock that down at a rate proportional to the force that we apply to it, and this is maybe the last training lesson we get with respect to riding, which is good. Basically, again, all these training lessons basically boil down to, like, physics exists. Think about them. Think about it, I guess. And then we'll just take ourselves to the exit here. And I'll be one more level, and then we'll try to get to the training section for tricks. And I don't want to necessarily play 30 tracks and get to that level. Oh, good. We can actually just do it right off the bat here. So we'll do the FMX training program. This is probably my largest complaint about the game so far, and it's the fact that they have added this new trick system. I think people are going to be divided on this, but I played a lot of score attacky type trick extreme sports games in my day. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, more recently Ollie Ollie, Cool Borders. Oh, let me put it this way. I have a breadth of experience with these games stretching over like a decade and a half. And I think the way that Trials does its trick system is not necessarily perfect, but moreover, I think that, or Trials Fusion, I should say, but moreover, I kind of feel like it takes away from the focus of the game, which is that score attacking and racing while trying to avoid falling part. But anyway, using the right analog stick, we can perform some tricks, so we got to do these tricks in the air on the wind tunnel here. They don't give you any button prompts, and I think that's one of the sore spots for me, is that it feels like there's a big big learning curve associated with these. You just got to learn where to put the analog stick in order to do it. And, you know, what's kind of cool about it is that by, like, spinning and moving the analog stick around like crazy, you can discover new tricks. Isn't this what they want? No? You can discover new tricks. Maybe this is what they want? There we go. But it takes a long time to learn them. And when you're outside of the wind tunnel, this shit is, like, seriously impossible to land. I know this time they want the slash. There we go. They're impossible to land. And there's a few score attack levels in the game. This one's going to be Proud Hero. If we could try this again. There's a few score attack levels in the game. No, get back on your bike, please. I mean, it looks funny. I'll give it that. But on those score attack levels, those are by far my least favorite in the entire game. There we go. Because landing the tricks is so hard. And maybe it should be... Maybe it should be so that you can actually, you know, separate the wheat from the chaff, right? But I don't know. I much prefer the racing side of it. Luckily, it's not shoehorned into everything. It's not like your leaderboard position is necessarily determined by your ability to not only go fast, but do tricks as well. But I do think it kind of dilutes the focus of Trials a little bit. And it feels a little gimmicky to me. And I don't necessarily like that very much. But, you know, there is some variety added into the game if I'm going to add in some politeness after that. But it is the addition of the trick system that probably single-handedly makes this my least favorite entry in the Trials series. That being said, I do still think this is a game that's worth picking up. If you're a fan of Trials, the most important, dominant part of the narrative for, like, the criticism of this game should be... I'll do the Daredevil Showdown, so you can see a score attack level. But yeah, if you're a fan of the Trials series, I would totally recommend picking up Trials Fusion with an asterisk, and that asterisk is I don't think it's as good as Evolution was. I think Evolution, not to be perhaps overly, you know, grandiose here, but I think it is a masterpiece. Basically, I'm not necessarily saying they accomplished everything they set out to accomplish with the Trials formula in Evolution, but Evolution was real freaking good. And this is just more Trials. It's not, you know, it's not the difference between Evolution and HD, which was extraordinary. It's more just like, yeah, this is more Trials, and I'm okay with it. You tried some stuff. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. Level design is still tight for the most part. Track editor doubtlessly will provide a lot of variety, and I'm really interested to see what people do with it. In Trials Evolution, they made some absolutely crazy stuff, and if you didn't watch my Trials Evolution videos, I'm not just talking about, like, whoa, that level has some, like, really killer ramps in it. No, people made, like, RPGs and, you know, first-person survival, or not survival, but first-person, like, survival horror games in it, where you'd be, like, controlling a flashlight. They, like, recreated Pac-Man. It really is an incredibly versatile level editor. Oh, I hate that jump because I can never see what I'm doing there. You can do flips, by the way, while you're doing your moves here, but it does make it very difficult to land. I think what gets me is that, compared to other score attacky games, Ollie Ollie, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater in particular I'm thinking about right now, in those games, basically what you're trying to do is throw out as many tricks as possible, get your multiplier as high as possible, and hold it for as long as you can until you land. Whereas in Trials Fusion, I'm not necessarily saying the trick system is bad, although I do think using the right stick to control everything is, a little wonky, but, you know, I didn't play Skate. Maybe that's how Skate works. The landing is a much larger focus in this, and so I find myself not really doing flips, instead just grabbing onto my bike and getting a lot of points, and then landing, and those points get multiplied by the skill of your landing, essentially. And this is usually enough to get my multiplier high enough to get me a gold medal, provided I don't fall, but it also feels a little bit lame. So, I don't know, I guess it's just the trick system feels unsatisfying after playing, admittedly, what you could easily be described as like a hallmarks of the extreme sports video game subgenre, but yeah, I don't necessarily think it knocks it out of the park with respect to that. And that's unfortunate, but it's cool that it's not shoehorned in over absolutely everything. See, I got the gold medal there, even though I did just, let's be honest, some pretty boring tricks. There is also a four-wheel drive, what would you call it? We just call them four-wheelers, but I think that might be kind of like a pretty obvious thing to call them. Off-road vehicles. ATVs? ATVs, I think, is that. What is Crank? Crank is like, basically, you do tricks to get your adrenaline up so you don't die, much like the Jason Statham movie, the same name. So I think that's gonna basically do it. This is Trials Fusion. Career mode doesn't seem very long. Look, we're already 29% complete, and this is probably representative of about, if you include this video, probably about an hour of play, maybe even 50 minutes. So you can get through that career mode pretty quickly, especially if you have a breadth of experience or a depth of experience with trials. Track Central is going to be awesome when it comes up, I am sure, but, keep in mind it's not out yet, so caveat emptor on that. No online multiplayer, and weird shoehorn story and trick system, I don't think that works fantastically, but beyond that, if it sounded like I was being negative, it's just because I've already gushed about Trials too much. Just by saying this is more Trials and it's not bad, it's basically like a 7, 8 out of 10, I would say. So, if you're a fan of Trials, I think you will be both satisfied and maybe a little bit disappointed with Trials Fusion. At least those are the conflicting emotions that I found myself feeling so far. That being said, still a very fun use of your time. I think it's a good use of your money, and I'm going to be having a good time beating Trials Fusion over the course of, let's be honest, what is probably the rest of one night. But yeah, excited to see what comes out of Track Central, and overall I think this is a pretty good effort. In any case, if you want to pick up the game on Steam, there will be a link in the video description below. And, of course, if you enjoyed the video, it would be very much appreciated if you click the like button. It helps out a great deal. And, of course, subscribe if you want to see more first impressions in the future. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Eventually, once I click the end recording button. Here we go.